everybody. Welcome. I am so glad that you've joined us for the Fearless Town Hall. We're so excited to be here tonight to have a conversation about something very important. It's an emotion that seems to be dominating the emotional psyche of our globe right now. That emotion is fear. And so it's time to talk about it. And not just talk about how it's going to control us, but how we're going to gain control over it. And I can't think of anybody I'd rather have that conversation with than Max Lucado. Max is, as you know, is a longtime pastor. He's been at the Oak Hills Church for more than 20 years. In fact, tonight we're coming to you from the Oak Hills Church in the beautiful city of San Antonio in the great state of Texas. You also know Max is a best-selling author. He has over 65 million books in print. He's written books for adults and children and Bible studies. So he's known for his words of encouragement and his messages of hope. So tonight, will you help me welcome Max Lucado?
When I was 6 years old, my dad let me stay up with my two older sisters and watch the movie Wolfman. Boy, did he live to regret that decision. Because I became convinced that Wolfman lived behind our television. Right there in our living room, I believed that Wolfman made his home. And that fact proved problematic. Because in order for me to go from my bedroom into the kitchen, guess where I had to go? Right past Wolfman. And I would awaken in the middle of the night, as I was prone to. My dad had trained me to go get my own glass of water, not to wake him up. I remember one night, though, that I took a step into the living room and I could hear Wolfman growl. And I knew that he was just behind the television set, waiting for his midnight snack of 6-year-old, freckle-faced, red-headed boy. And I froze. My little heart was pounding inside my chest. So what could I do? But I went into my dad's bedroom, and I woke him up. And he opened one eye and said, "What's wrong?" And I reminded him about Wolfman, who lived in our living room. And he let out a sigh. And he said, "All right." And he climbed up out of bed. And he started walking toward the living room. And I grabbed his T-shirt. And I followed him right past the lair, the hangout of Wolfman. And you know what? My dad didn't flinch. He didn't step back. He didn't stiffen up. He wasn't even afraid. And I can remember drinking that glass of water, looking up at him, thinking, what kind of man is this? The disciples asked a question like that on the Sea of Galilee. That Jesus, having just slept through a storm, they woke him up. He asked them, "Now, why are you afraid?" And then he spoke to the storm. And the stormy sea became a glassy lake. And they looked at him and said, "What kind of man is this, that even the winds and the seas obey him?" I love this discussion about fear because I really believe that Jesus wants us to lead lives in which we fear less. There is a place for appropriate fear to alarm us to impending danger. But it's the maltreatment of fear, the inappropriate treatment of fear that does damage to us. And could it be that the same outlook that my father had toward that Wolfman is the outlook that your heavenly Father has toward fears that right now are keeping you awake? And could it be that in this conversation about fear, that you'll find some courage? That's our prayer.
Absolutely, Max. Tonight, we're going to have live questions from the audience. We're going to have Twitter questions, email questions, Facebook questions. It's going to be a wonderful evening. In fact, we've had several hundred questions submitted from around the world for tonight's town hall, so we're excited about it. And to start us off, sir, tell us your name and where you're from.
My name is Ernest, and I'm from Los Angeles, California. My question is, on a daily basis, we're bombarded by the media, the headlines, with the worst-case scenarios, such as illness, war, terrorism, and financial collapse. And these are very real concerns. What type of advice would you give to us?
These are very real concerns, these questions of worst-case scenarios, and they're everywhere, aren't they? I think the advice here is that Jesus told us this would happen. On the week before his crucifixion, he had an honest heart-to-heart talk with his disciples, and he said, in the days, years, centuries ahead, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. There will be earthquakes, there will be apostasy, there will be a massive turning around. He said the love of many will turn cold. But then he said, see to it that you are not alarmed. It's one of his do not be afraid statements. See to it that you are not alarmed or not overcome by fear. And the word here is a unique word. Jesus only uses it one time when he talks about fear, and he does in the case of these calamities, in the case of these natural disasters. He says, see to it that you are not alarmed. In the best translation, I think, would read something like this. See to it that you don't freak out. Don't freak out. It's going to happen. But these things must happen, he says, and then the end will come. So, we don't go to either extreme. One extreme is the Chicken Little who runs around saying, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. We don't freak out. But nor do we take the approach of Pollyanna. Pollyanna is the person who says, oh, nothing bad is happening, nothing bad is happening, nothing bad is happening, nothing bad is happening. It's all blue, it's all good. It's not blue, it's not good. This world stinks sometimes. There's cancer in this world. There's death in this world. There's sadness in this world. There are orphans in this world. There's hunger in this world. And sometimes you're going to pray for things and the prayer's not going to be answered in the way you want it. And that's hard to be a Pollyanna when there's thunderstorms. But somewhere in between Chicken Little and Pollyanna is the sobered, honest disciple of Christ who doesn't freak out at the presence of problems and doesn't lose faith when problems come. They know that all of these problems are a natural unfolding of events, somewhat like birth pains, Jesus said in that same teaching. He said, these are birth pains. Now, I'm not going to begin to suggest I know what birth pains are like. But I do know that birth pains signaled the onset of the final push, right? Mothers, you don't go through 9 months of birth pains, right? And so even though they're painful, aren't they a good signal? Some crowning is about to happen. And that's what this push that we're in right now in history is suggesting. We're almost there, he says, and then the end will come. So, don't freak out.